Okay, so what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to spend a little bit of time going over the rubric for the assignment and the assignment again, as well as the checklist. And then I'm only going to talk about 2 of the example files because I don't think I need to go through all of them with you. I'm going to talk about the A one and the B one to show you kind of the difference in what was A work and what met all the requirements, and then what was, most of the requirements but missed a few key points. If you turned in your outline late, I haven't had a second to look at them. So that's my goal tonight. So if you turned in your outline late, I will be posting feedback in Blackboard tonight before I go to bed. I promise. And so I'll send you feedback and then you can work off of that. Sound good? Okay. All right, so can you see my screen okay? Yeah. So I made this yesterday, and I thought it would give you a good final list of all the things that you need to do for this assignment, because I feel like sometimes when we're finishing final work and we've got a ton of papers and essays and exams and things to do at the end, we get that thing called cognitive load and we just seem to miss little things. And I'd hate for you to have little point deductions for things that you missed. So when you finish your paper and you feel like it's 100% done, I want you to go through this and check off the things that are complete. You could also use it as a peer review. If you have a roommate or a friend or somebody you live with that's also an education major or has taken the class before, you could have them do this for you and go through and check your paper. The paper is 40% of your grade. You cannot pass the class if you don't pass the final paper. So let's look at the requirements. So part 1 is, like students typically call it, the mini research paper part. And sometimes it's 3 or 4 pages. It depends on how robust you are. Some students it's a page or 2, and some it's 3 or 4. And it has to do with your research. This is where you explain what it means to be literate in your area. And so a lot of students use the textbook and they'll cite algorithm, and then they'll find the outside sources as well. The minimum requirement for this class is a senior level class, 400, is 4 sources. I would like to see 2 of those as academic, maybe just a textbook and a research article. But I know for many of you, your resources come from your national groups. For instance, if you're a math teacher, your National Council for Teachers of Math, or if you're a PE teacher. So it's okay. I think I'd like to see half of them at least be academic to show me that you went into the article research and read some articles. You have to make sure to explain the definition and how you arrived at that definition. And that's part 1. Part 2 is where you apply and create one lesson plan, unit plan, depends on how big you want it to be. You have to describe a problem for kids. I suggest making it real life and authentic because it's going to make your lesson more engaging for them. And I've given you lots of ideas on how to do that on your outline. You have to have at least one text here for students to read. Some of you chose pamphlets. Some of you said, I'm just going to give them this chapter in the textbook. Totally fine. Some of you went out and found additional books and resources that you would have kids read. Also a great idea. You should describe and find additional multimodal media and text. So for most of you, I think every outline I've seen, it's been YouTube videos. That is just fine. And then you have your activities. You should have a total of 9, 3 activities for analyzing, summarizing, and synthesizing, 3 for examining and evaluating claims, and 3 for communicating claims. And then part 3 is your reflection. You have to do 4 things here. You explain what was easy while you're working on this assignment. You explain what was challenging for you. You explain the benefits of this lesson that you've created. So what was beneficial? What would you do with your kids? How would they enjoy it, etc. And then you explain the challenges. So this lesson that you wrote, maybe you really like it, but you don't see it as being helpful in your future class because of whatever reason. Down here at the bottom, I decided to make a section called formatting. I think that's not the word I'm looking for, but that's what I'm going with for right now. The essay is supposed to be 7 pages of content. That doesn't include your title page and references page. You should use APA format. Now, you guys probably know that APA just changed mid-semester to 7. I am not that picky. If you've been doing APA 6 all this time, stick with 6, okay? Starting next year, we will go to 7. Then read through and make sure you don't have spelling or grammar errors. I never have to take off for spelling and grammar. By this point, you guys write really well and you don't have that problem. So use this document as a checklist to help you make sure you've met all the requirements and you haven't missed anything. These are the things that are on the rubric as well, and that I grade for. So for instance, let's look at the rubric. Here you go. Can you see my rubric? Yes. Sometimes I change screens and Zoom doesn't catch up. So I want to make sure you could see it. So this is where you want to be in the target area. Thank you, Emily. Okay, you can see it now, right? Good. Okay, so you want to be right here in the target area. This is really the area where I find I have to take off points. When you're doing part one and you're describing what literacy is in your area, it has to be grounded in research. We put on the assignment 4 resources. I'm okay with 2 academic and then 2 outside ones. Like if you had a news article or a blog post from another educator or something like that, because I find value in all of that stuff that's out there. However, I have to make sure that you're also going into the databases and reading research because it is part of the class and it is also a valuable skill. Let's see. Everything, all 3 strategies are accurately described. You've got good methods for how you're teaching the course. All of that is there. I don't usually have to take off any points there. All materials are described and explained and are accurate for the standard or your group. Most of the time this is okay. Every once in a while, I'll have a student talk about things that they haven't really read about. And so when I read it, I'm like, that's not this strategy. And it usually comes from just copying and pasting from the web, unfortunately. The problem is clear. It makes sense. That's a part of this grade and that your paper meets the guidelines and is APA. This is a really short rubric. The average on this assignment is an A. Every once in a while, I'll get a student who gets a B. And every once in a while, you get a student who turns in an incomplete assignment where there's only like 1 activity and they get, I think it's like a C- on this rubric. So in Blackboard, you have a lot of examples. And so there is this one, that's a history one. I know we don't have that many history majors this semester, but I still think looking at the format is helpful. You can see that he cited the Alverman text. It is perfectly okay for you to use the articles I gave you in this class, the book that you gave in this class, because those are sources that you've learned from, and you should apply that knowledge. He also went out and found articles for history teachers. And so you can see how this first section that my students like to call the essay part, he has his citations here. He cites Pescatore, Alverman, Ogle, D'Amico. He had, his 4 sources that he explains all the different ways that history students become literate in history. And that usually takes him to the beginning of page 4. Here we go. And so his first section was about 4 pages, and that's double spaced. That's about the average. Then he goes into his lesson. You can see that he's using the headings that I gave you on the assignment sheet from the outline. That's fine. Do that. Keep this assignment as simple as you can. Use the headings I gave you. If you're not a history major, reading this isn't going to be very helpful for you. But here in section 3, starts on page 8, he has his sections where he goes through and talks about what was easy for him, what was challenging for him, and then how he sees himself using this lesson or not using this lesson. Most students include an appendix that shows me what they made. Like this was a knowledge rating. That's what he decided his kids would be doing for understanding claims. Great idea. Kind of like a KWL, but a little more advanced. And so he made it. You can stick it here or you can stick it in the text. It's completely up to you. If you find something that's already made, say from another math teacher or English teacher, and you want to just link to it, then just link to it. I'm also okay with that. Here's his square game with his creepy medieval people. So anyhow, so you have this one in your folder. The second one I gave you that is this English one. This is my B paper. This is the only example I gave you that's a B. Looking at this right away, What do you notice about section 1? What do you notice?
It's short.
It's 1 page. Yeah. Kylie's like, what is that? That was what I said. I was like, wait, what is this? Is this like a rough draft? Does he want me to read this and give him feedback? So I emailed him and I said, hey, saw your paper. Is this the final one? He's like, yeah, it's final. I'm like, oh no. So there's no length requirement. And yes, Lauren, there's no headings, but there's no length requirement here. Why is it doing that? I can't get it to go away. Hold on. Please don't be frozen. There we go. There's no length requirement here. If you can get your whole definition and all of your research into 1 page, that's fine. But what I saw here was 1 page with 1 citation. There wasn't a great deal of research here. Also, he's an English teacher, and there is a ton on literacy in the English class, right? When you think of literacy, don't you mostly think of the English classroom right away? So there was a huge point deduction from that. The lesson here was also a little rough. There wasn't a good explanation of the problem here for the kids. And so you've got this and you can kind of read through it and look over it. One of the other things when you come down here to part 3 is his reflection was really quite complete. So on the rubric, he got really good points for his APA. He got really good points for his reflection. But here in parts 1 and 2, 2 was short. He did not have 9 strategies. The problem was not clear. I couldn't picture him standing in front of his kids and saying, you know, here's why we're doing this type thing. And then he didn't have his research. So it came out to be a 81%, I think was what it was. So it was a B paper. Last night I gave you guys, because I always wait to see who I have in the class. You guys have this one from the visual arts. This was an A+ paper. There were no point deductions on this visual arts paper. I put it in this semester because it was one of the best ones I've ever read. I put in a PE one. I had about 11 PE majors last semester, and I would say they ranged from the A to the low B. And I decided to give you the one that was like a 100%, because I think looking at the best example is most helpful. You'll notice that this student included the questions. With each section, she put the questions here to help guide it. I was fine with that. I think that's just fine if that's how you write and you want to do it. It's not traditional, it's not APA, but it doesn't really bother me at all. She has a really good explanation of literacy and in her field of what it means and how she came to that. She talks a lot about not finding as much in the journals and needing to go to the outside resources, which was okay. Then she sets it up that she's going to be teaching high school PE, and she's going to start with a KWL chart, and she goes through all the different ways that she's going to help her kids through everything. So she, I think, a total only had about 7 strategies, but it was still an A paper. And then here in the end, she shows you all the things she made. There's her little rubric. She's going to have kids do a research paper. She did not like.
Do we have to show all the things that we made at the end? Do we have to do that?
You can include them inside of it. You can talk about it theoretically, like here are the questions I would put on the KWL, like in your paragraph, or you can just create the little table and paste it in there, or you can put it down here. It's completely up to you. Yeah. At this point, I'm not going to have you go through and spend hours creating tables and worksheets because I don't think it's valuable to your time. But you do need to think about what would be on the anticipatory activity and what would be on the KWL and talk about it. I think if you don't, you're not going to hit those 7 pages. Like if you have a paragraph where you say, I would give the kids a KWL and anticipatory checklist, that's 2 sentences. So you got to talk about it. And then I gave you a music one. So I have a lot of rich examples from music, and I chose this one, which was last semester, because I thought it was really well researched. And I know that thinking of how to define literacy in an area where there isn't a lot of reading typically can be difficult. So I wanted to give you this so you could see how others have thought about using, is this for a band class, and how they've set up discussion as well. This was an A paper. There was a small deduction because it is only 5 pages long. So you have all of these examples in Blackboard. You come into assignments. I renamed them last night too, so that way you knew exactly what subject they were if you wanted to look at them. Under examples, so an A paper in history, the B paper in English, A paper in art, A paper in health PE, and an A paper in music. So you can look at all of them and really get a feel for how it was done and what the requirement is. This is our last class together because the semester actually ends on Monday. It's kind of crazy. But I've given you guys an additional week to finish up the assignment. So this isn't due until May 4th. That being said, I'm still going to be here Tuesday and Thursday during our class time as office hours to help. So on Tuesday from 3 to 4, if you want to come, bring your draft, ask questions, have me look at something, just pop in and say hi, show me your new haircut, whatever, pop in and say hi. If you get to the end of the week and it's Thursday and you're getting really nervous about it and you just kind of threw together a real rough draft, pop in on Thursday from 3 to 4. I'm not going to be available a lot to meet on Saturdays and Sundays because of the weekend. But Monday through Friday, if you need help, if you want to meet here in Zoom or Skype or wherever, just let me know and I'm happy to help. On that note, I'm happy to read drafts. Send me your rough draft. I'll read it and I'll give you feedback. I would suggest getting the draft done early next week. Set yourself up. Try to get it maybe Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, get it done, and then give me at least 24 hours, right, to read through it and get you some detailed feedback. And I put my feedback right on the Word document. I just use track changes, I put my comments all over it, and I email it back to you. I am 100% happy to read those, but you do have to get them to me during the week because I'm not going to read them on Saturday and Sunday. If you are really late and you send it to me Friday at 11:30 at night, you can expect me to read it on Monday, and then I'll send it back to you, and that's the day it's due. Questions? Are you glad we're not doing peer review online? Hold on, let me stop share so I can see all of you at one time. I can only see 4 of you. Here we go. This class has always had a strong history of peer review. Because you're planning lessons for your content. If we were in class, we would have been working in our content groups for the last 3 weeks. You would have been sitting with all your peers. You guys would have been doing all the steps together, outlining, reading each other's work, giving feedback. But to do that online means you have to write it and then post it, and then somebody has to read it and post comments. And I felt like that was a waste of your time. And I worried that you would feel like it was just busy work. So I canceled the whole peer review side of things. And I'm giving you me as your reviewer. I'm going to give you detailed feedback on late outlines. And then also if you want me to read your drafts next week, I will. And I'll give you feedback on that. Is that helpful? Yeah. Are you guys peer reviewed out? Some of you are like, yes. One of my other students said that her class is doing everything in peer review now. So I just was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know how helpful that is when you're dealing with online learning and trying to do everything digitally. What questions do you have?
So in the schedule, it says the draft is due the 27th. Are you not, like, it's not due? There's nowhere to submit it, is there? It's just kind of, okay.
If you want me to look at it, yeah. But really, I'm flexible. Just get it to me sometime next week and I will read it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was doing the schedule, I was like, yeah, surely get everything done by Monday. It's okay. I'm trying to be as understanding as possible with everything. And I know for some of you have big final exams coming up. Yeah, stuff you've got to do. So as long as you can get it to me next week, I will read it and give you feedback, I promise. What else? Nothing? You're not even thinking about it yet, are you? Where does my assignment fall on the list of all your to-dos? Show me with your fingers. My 2, 3, 4. Aw, I'm number 1. Thank you. That must mean all your other classes already had everything due, right? All right, wait, show me again. Rayvon, you said I'm 3? 3, okay. I'm happy. Okay, 3, all right. Lauren, do you have a lot of art stuff you have to do this week? Yes. I'm sure Emily's in the same boat. You guys have a lot of stuff to work on this week.
I had to build a loom at home. It was pretty.
Oh, okay.
They're it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Being an art student online.
It is a little difficult, but people do it. Virtual Virginia offers art credits through, online, and tons of high school kids take them. One of my colleagues has been doing it for 15 years, and she loves it. She loves teaching art online. So you might find it gets more fun as you go. I'm hoping in the fall we aren't online. I don't know. I am not convinced that we're going to be back on campus in the fall. Is anybody else with me on that one? I'm really scared that I'm going to be still sitting here in the fall with all these children. You should really consider the pandemic next time you think about having kids.
My dad works for like FEMA. He's like head of emergency management, so he's like right in the middle of everything, and he said from what he knows probably don't expect to be back, which really sucks.
I don't think we'll be back. I think a lot of places will be open, but I think a campus with you guys all living together in such close, proximity to each other, and just so many people. And also, ODU, we have this gigantic, beautiful international population of all these students who come from all over the world. And I think the pandemic's hitting them at different times. And so then they're going to come in, and I think it's going to be awful. And I'm just so scared I'm going to be still sitting here. I'm going to need to change how I do things for sure. And really think about next semester in terms of what if we have to do it online and how would we best do it, especially with this assignment. We stopped doing this assignment in parts. So what it used to be is each part of this assignment we would have due throughout the semester. We stopped doing that because students got really frustrated and overwhelmed. And so now we just do it as a big project at the end. But I think for online learners, for you guys, I think that adds stress because you're doing this huge thing at the end by yourself. So I might have to go back to parts next semester just in case we are online again. Kind of help you out, scaffold it a little bit. Okay, so throw the schedule out the window. Get me your rough draft next week, and I will email you very detailed feedback. It might be at 1 o'clock in the morning, but I'm going to get you feedback because I want you to all get A's on the paper. I want you to do well, and I want you to have something really beautiful to show off at a job interview if somebody asks you to show a lesson plan and you decide that this is the one you want to show. If you're at a school, for instance, that's Title I, and one of their things that they're working on as our Title I requirement is literacy. And even if you're the PE art teacher, because I know sometimes you're like, literacy isn't really related to my field, because it's part of their Title I, and it's part of what they're trying to do to improve school learning, they're going to ask you about it. And so I think this could be something that you could show off in that situation as well. I mean, everybody knows, right, that Andrea is going to get asked about literacy because she's the English teacher. But for the rest of you, you may be like, no one's ever going to ask me about this. They will if you're at a school where the thing they're working on is literacy. So keep that in mind. I look forward to all your emails next week. I have office hours Tuesday and Thursday during class time. So pop in if you need to talk, if you have questions, or if you just want to say hi, or if you just want to sit here and stalk everybody and listen to them talk. I had somebody come to office hours earlier and she's like, I just want to listen. But she said she got a lot out of listening to her peers ask questions and showing off what they were working on. So sometimes that is equally as helpful. That was a short class. Yeah? You're like, I'm tired. I'm done. Please sign off. Okay, we'll do it. I will see you next week if you need help. If you don't, I just look forward to your email. Please do a draft. Please let me give you feedback. Please don't pull it all together on Monday and send me something that looks like the B example. Please, please don't. Okay. Stay well and stay safe. Bye.